Hey, McClay, I figured, what with this whole pandemic thing going around, we take a look at some end of the world apocalypse stuff from 20 years ago.
This better be good, Jake. You caught me in the middle of reinforcing my bunker.
Your toilet paper bunker?
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know if I'm ready. It's a good thing I have this resource. Now I can find out.
About time.
What is Y2K?
Will I lose my services?
Is ketchup a smoothie?
What's going to happen in the Y2K?
Will I lose my
Everyone
benefits?
always asks
What's called
Y2K, but no one asks
Should I
how
sell water?
2K.
Can it be diffused?
Will
Can
my
I use
computer
terror
work?
to kill the
we have a
millennium
backup
bugs
plan?
invading my house?
Every family should perform regular emergency drills. Fire drills,
Sherman.
for example. Now, the Andersons are just such a
Get
family.
off our
They
lawn!
perform drills on a regular basis so that they can be prepared for any situation. This
Little
year,
do they know,
because of Y2K,
they'll be
the
transported
emphasis
into
is
a
being
land
placed
of
on
imagination.
emergencies that could take
Toilet
place
zone.
because of the Y2K event. Unlike other emergencies, however, everyone knows when the year
Now, if
2000
you'll
will
excuse
arrive.
me, I have to go
Therefore,
harass other
preparation
neighborhood
is
homes.
that much easier.
Today we're here together for the Y2K, just in case.
Dad, we've been doing this for 3 days
Hoping for the
straight.
best, but preparing
What kind of
for the worst.
presentation is that? That's some
They aren't
graphs
sure
in there
the
to
new
keep
year
their
will begin
attention.
with a minor annoyance, a shorted circuit, for example,
Yes.
or a state of emergency. While nobody
I live
knows
in the
what
state
will
of
happen
Idaho.
when the new year arrives, the Andersons are sure of one thing: Y2K is a
Now, in
reality.
case of a food
Peace of
shortage,
mind
we're going to be
belongs to
eating
the
Junior here
well-prepared.
first.
I don't know Y2K. You tell me
The
Y2K.
Andersons have followed standard emergency management recommendations from the Federal Emergency Management Administration and the American Red
Government's
Cross
got their nose
by
in
making
everything, don't
emergency
they?
preparations as they would do to get through a severe winter storm of 3 to 5 days in duration.
You're telling me
They've stored
Y2K will
adequate
last 3 to
supplies of
5
food
days?
that require little to no water or
This
preparation.
isn't as bad as we thought it was.
They've compiled a supply of extra flashlights, plenty of warm clothes and blankets, disposable plates and food utensils that will not require the use of water that may be in short supply.
Yeah, but how do we know that
Keep in
Y2K is
touch
going to
with
happen in
outside
the
events,
winter?
they
Oh,
have a
yeah.
battery-operated
So
radio
you
and
just
a
have a
large
box of
supply of
plastic
batteries
spoons to
ensure
last you the
that
rest
it'll
of your
operate
life in the
24 hours a day
apocalypse.
for 3 to 5 days. Having adequate quantities of drinking water during an emergency is essential. An average adult needs a minimum
I'm a
of
very
1 gallon of water
sub-average
per
adult.
day.
Okay,
2
drink
quarts for
water.
drinking and
Hey,
food
don't choke.
preparation,
This
and
is
2 quarts
okay,
for sanitation. Active
They're
people can
practicing their
require
defense
twice that
mechanisms
amount.
there for when the raiders come to steal their
Forget about the
supplies.
pets. They also need clean drinking water. A medium-sized dog can require up to twice
That's
as
just a
much
kid in a
water
teddy
per
bear
day
costume.
as an average adult. When storing water, use thoroughly washed and rinsed plastic milk or pop containers with screw-on caps. Never use containers made of material that can break, such as glass, or containers
I'm pretty
that
sure most
previously held
materials
products
can
with strong
break
odors,
at some
or
point.
those holding hazardous materials, such as cleansers. According to the American Red Cross,
I don't
tap
trust
water can be
religious
stored in
organizations
plastic
like the
containers
Red
with screw-on
Cross.
caps for up to 6 months. The water that comes from your tap has already been treated by the Detroit
Yeah,
Water
yeah.
and
What
Sewage
about
Department.
whiskey? How long will
No
whiskey
additional
last?
treatment is required. If you have power, store the water in the refrigerator to extend its shelf life, or store in a cool, dark area away from products with strong odors or those containing
Hazardous
hazardous
chemicals. Dukes of
Ice
hazardous
cubes
chemicals.
are another good reserve source of water. The ice cubes will help keep your
This
refrigerator
is also
and
how we were
freezer
preparing
colder
for if Trump
longer
got
in the
elected.
event
Am I
of the
right?
loss of
Am I
electrical
right?
power, and could end up
Relevant
being an
joke from
emergency
4
water
years
supply.
ago.
In the event it becomes
Well, I could
necessary
recycle
to
it for
prepare
this election.
untreated sources of water, such as snow or
unprepared
rainwater
water.
for consumption. Boiling is the
Prepare
best
your water
method
for
of
life. Tell them
purification.
about the birds and the
Boil
bees.
only relatively clean water. Do not scoop up water from mud puddles.
Oh!
But remember,
That's how I
boiled
get all my
doesn't
water.
contain a disinfectant like chlorine. It has only a very short shelf life. To treat water by boiling, bring the water being treated to a rolling boil for 10 minutes.
I'll have to treat my
Remove the
water.
water
It
from the
deserves it.
Be sure to let it cool before drinking or for food preparation. Pour the
Saw
water
my
back and
hand.
forth between 2 containers to add air and improve
Yeah.
the
When do
taste
we
of
get to
the boiled
toilet
water.
paper?
In the event that water is still available,
It's right there,
conservation
by the
may
toilet.
be
In the event.
necessary due to low water pressure situations. Here are some tips that can help you to conserve water in
I'm getting the
and
sense that
around the home.
Y2K was mostly a water
Don't
crisis.
use your toilet as a wastebasket. This simple measure
Don't
can
use
save
toilet as
countless gallons of water.
wastebasket.
You can also invest in a
I
low-flow
usually
toilet.
don't.
It uses only 1.6 gallons per flush.
Also known as all toilets
Send
these
7
days
gallons
because
down the
everything
drain
sucks.
per flush.
All those old-fashioned toilets.
Don't let the water run.
I miss the
when
old
shaving,
days.
Brushing your teeth or washing your face.
Everyone knows when the apocalypse comes, you
taking a
gotta
shower,
get a good
do it the
quarantine
Navy way.
beard going.
In the
Turn off the water
Navy.
when soaping up. Turn it on only to rinse off.
But can
This
I
measure
sing?
will save between 5 to 10 gallons per minute. You can save more water
Collect the
by
water
investing
that
in a
you
reduced
shower with
flow
and
shower head.
recycle it and drink it tomorrow.
Don't wash clothes or dishes unless you have a full load.
Wash
If a
yourself
water
with the
emergency
clothes
is
to
in
save
effect,
water.
Avoid these and other water-wasting activities like car washing and lawn watering until further notice.
There goes my
Remember,
survival plan of
using
only
water in a
washing my
sensible
car
way
all day.
Each and every day is a wise lifestyle choice.
Water.
But what would happen if an emergency caught you with no water at all?
Well,
You
you're
may be
done for,
surprised
folks.
to learn that there are a number of hidden water sources in your home.
Oh boy, break out the
water
dowsing
tank.
rods.
It can contain 40, 50 or more gallons of water suitable for consumption.
You've got a water
Although
gold
it is
mine right
best
under
to
your
contact the
nose.
manufacturer of your hot water tank for specific instructions on draining your hot water tank. The following instructions are recommended.
Do
use
not
the
poke
water
a
in your
hole
hot
in it
water
to drain
tank.
it.
Make sure the electricity or gas is turned off.
Stick your
Close
mouth
the valve
over the
at the
valve
water
and
meter.
collect it in your
Close
cheeks.
the intake water valve at the top of the tank. Next, open the hot water tap on any sink in the home.
Your house will then
Opening up the hot
explode.
water tap equalizes the pressure in the hot water system and
Water?
allows the water
I hardly
to
know
flow
her.
more easily. By
That
closing
doesn't
the
make any
intake valve
sense.
to your tank, water is prevented from backflowing into the main.
Sure, these
can
people
now
are trying to
open the
siphon
drain
all
at
the
the
water
bottom
out
of
of their
the
hot
tank.
water tank,
Remember,
but the
to let
people
the
buying
water
too much
cool
toilet
before
paper are
drinking
the
it.
crazy
Do
ones.
not turn on the gas or electricity when the tank is empty.
Or you will die.
You should flush your hot water tank before using water from it.
But use a
And
1.6
as a
gallon
regular
toilet.
practice, it's a good idea to flush and refill your tank every 6 months. This will help reduce the buildup of sediment.
Kool-Aid.
If the tank hasn't been flushed in a while, start off slowly by draining off a few
Yeah,
gallons
get to the
every
survival
2 weeks.
bunker. What kind of guns do I need?
Another source of
Is it just
emergency
all about
drinking water
water?
is contained in the toilet tank,
It's boring.
not the
I
bowl.
mean, I understand it's
This should
relatively
only be
important,
considered
but
for use as a last
I don't
resort,
know.
and only if the tank does not contain
Man, the
any
store is
chemicals from
surprisingly
products
well stocked
such as
for the
toilet roll
apocalypse.
Water beds can hold up to 400 gallons of water that can be used for toilet flushing and to wipe up food spills. Because of chemicals used to inhibit the growth of algae and other organisms, it should not be used for drinking.
Drink the
food
chemicals by
preparation,
themselves.
or personal hygiene.
It's more pure that way.
Remember, in the event your home experiences a loss of heat, it's a
Put
good
hot
idea
water
to
in the
drain off
water
a
bed
large
and
portion
lay
of
on
the
it to
water
keep
in a
warm.
water bed. This will
Loss
prevent
of
damage
heat.
or
What did Uncle
destruction
Joe
of the bed
finally
frame
leave?
in the event of freezing. Now let's talk about protecting your home's pipes.
people are going to try
In
to
colder
ransack your
climates like
pipes.
Detroit,
You're going to need to protect them from
Pipes
looters.
can freeze and burst
Oh,
in
yeah.
winter without heat. This can result in expensive repair bills and serious property
You
damage.
should have prepared, and
To
frankly,
prevent this,
you deserve what's
drain
coming
both
to you.
hot and cold water systems. Shut off the water coming into your home with the valve on either side of your water meter. Drain the hot water pipes by opening
The end of
the
the
valve
world
at the
involves a
bottom
lot
of
of
your hot
water
tank,
draining.
usually the lowest point in your home.
Speak for yourself.
Even the pressure in the pipes and speed the flow of the water from the tank. Open any hot water tap in the house.
Jump up and down
drain
on the
the
water
cold
heater
water
to help it flow faster.
Open 2 cold water taps in the house, making sure that one of them is the lowest in your home.
Beat it repeatedly
Both
with a
homes,
hammer.
The lowest cold water tap will be located in the basement on the laundry tubs.
In
is
fact,
recommended
why don't
that
you
you
just
fill
buy
your
a swimming
bathtub
pool and
with
make that
water
your
no
home?
later
Then you
than
will be
10
ready
p.m.
for
on
Y2K.
December 31st, 1999. Keep small children away from the tub. Children can drown in as little as a half inch of water.
Oh boy, we can?
Flush the toilet during an emergency. Fill a bucket with water from the bathtub.
Got an
Move the
emergency
top of the
toilet
tank
flushing
on
to
the back
take
of the
care of
toilet.
here.
Pour the water into
Little
the tank
Timmy Dan
and
fell
flush.
down the well. Quick,
This
flush the
ensures
toilet.
that the water follows a normal swirling motion.
See, what you really need during the
After the
apocalypse
water
is a
has
good
gone down,
outhouse.
Be sure to
Underrated
pour
these
some
days.
water in the bowl in order to keep the trap full, which will cut down on odors.
I don't need to stock up
Andersons
on
have successfully
toilet paper. I got my
completed
Sears
their
and
Y2K
Roebuck
preparedness
catalog.
drill.
Now
They can
for our
relax
3-a-week lesson
knowing
on
that
gathering
they are
food.
prepared. They can now enjoy the significance of the millennium change in confidence
Oh, that was a hard
without
hug.
giving in to the doomsday hype.
What? You were the guy telling me to drain my water heater and waterbed and fill up my bathtub, but we're not giving into the doomsday hype?
is a reality, and January 1st, 2000 is fast approaching.
The end is near, but don't be
They took
scared.
the time to participate in an emergency contingency plan. They are ready to act accordingly. Whether the emergency is a bad storm, an actual
What makes you
Y2K
think there's going to be a
situation,
bad
or
storm
some
on
other major
Y2K?
event.
I'm confused.
It could also be a storm,
For
guys. I'm not
information about
totally
other
crazy.
Y2K related matters. Call the Detroit
That's
Water
the only
and
source
Sewage
of news I
Department's
trust.
Y2K hotline.
But I don't
at
live in
area code
Detroit.
313
Detroit water and
964
sewerage.
95.
I guess it's better than Flint.
Looks like Y2K did hit Detroit, am I right? Yeah. Thanks, Sherman.
It looks like a modernist rendition of Toucan Sam.
Shame, wasn't a real family.
Oh, Betsy Spratt played one of the scriptwriters. Very convincing in the role.
Does it have a script? Oh, thank you, True Value Hardware. And Chuck Archie, assistant manager of True Value Hardware.
Thanks, petty players.
Surprising amount of people for a Y2K water conservation PSA.
There's only one person in the city of Detroit?
I don't know. Do you feel ready now, McLean?
No idea.
Put a little away, but don't go nuts.
Yvonne and Chester Rich are getting ready for Y2K.
They are good and paranoid.
And stuff for the cats.
Those cats are gonna eat you like a day after you die, let's be honest here.
If I have water, we're going to stock up on a little
Not to
water.
knock on Yvonne and
Water is at the
Rich, but
top
are
of
they
the
really
list
the most
that
interesting
Texas
people at the
Department of
supermarket?
Emergency Management recommends you keep on hand. Most items can be gathered at your local grocery store. Such items as non-perishable food, a manual can opener,
Manual?
personal
What am I,
hygiene items
savage?
such as shampoo,
Did you name your
soap,
can opener
deodorant, and a
Emmanuel?
toothbrush, eyeglasses, a first aid kit, and prescription medications are also on the list.
We have had a couple of people ask about it, but really
No, I
for the
hair.
most part,
I
we
put my
haven't.
hair like this on
They're making
purpose.
too much out of it. It's not going to be anything. Just another day. Of course, I may be wrong.
We may all die a fiery death. You know, maybe.
It's just another day, unless we all die. I
It's a
mean,
lot of juicy juice.
What are they buying these things for? And they're basically saying they're trying to get prepared.
Much as they are at local hardware stores, where the biggest sellers are ammunition, gun
Yeah,
safes,
boy.
kerosene lamps, and water jugs.
But
if
mostly
you're looking for a
ammunition.
generator, forget it. There are none.
I don't think anybody is
I just saw
really worried about anything happening, but they are wanting to be prepared.
I'm Dave Johnson.
I'm not worried.
for
I'm just
Team
buying up
Florida.
everything I can find.
For 20 years here, easy.
They're stocking
I'm not
up.
worried, I'm just totally paranoid.
There's wheat, there's oats, there's corn.
They're powering up.
This is the converters that do the sunshine through my battery.
Three
Wow.
1,000-gallon tanks.
They're even arming up.
Oh dear.
Folks here are armed to the teeth and ready to defend it. And
Oh.
I'm just going to be armed to the teeth with them.
Now see, I
Armed
want to be
and
trapped
ready,
with
they
this
say,
guy.
for
Of course, he'd
whatever
probably
the
kill me
year
as soon as things went
2000
down, but you know.
Yeah,
The more
immediately.
people that take heed, the more
1201,
people
you're
that
dead.
listen, the less the problem is going to be.
Meet Paul Haig, a computer consultant who
Yeah, there's a
moved here
couple
year
bodies
ago
buried
from
out back. Why do you
Sacramento.
ask?
His Lakeview house is miles from the closest small town.
There's his
Haig has
family.
settled in with the goats, grains, and guns.
How
He's
big a
got
threat do you have
landmines
to
underneath
see
the
before-
soil.
Before you're willing to prepare. And I was fortunate enough that I did have the means to prepare, so I have.
He's had a busy year putting in these big propane tanks, solar power, even
Sounds like
a
a
well
busy
and
year.
a pump house. It hasn't been cheap.
$40,000, and no more than 50 max.
I
So
think
what
it's
does
money
he
well
say to
spent.
those who feel the Y2K computer bug is no big deal?
I say I hope they're right. I like life just the way it is.
Oh, I'm
Eric
basically
Zimmer
planning on
likes
being
his
the last
setup,
man
too.
alive. Why do you ask?
Zimmerer and his wife have been in the Ozarks for years, running a Volkswagen scrapyard.
Excuse me?
Business is good, and he doesn't expect Y2K to change that.
Huh.
In fact, he has a name for the year 2000 alarmists who are just arriving. He calls them the Y2Kies.
I'm not going to say things aren't going to take
That was
a
very
turn,
creative.
but I
How'd
don't
you
think
come
it's
up with
going to be
that?
anything drastic.
And if what happens
Why
truly
Tukis?
happens, I'm not sure they can cope with
Isn't
it.
that Han Solo's partner in
Despite all the
Star
money
Wars?
that they've paid into all their supplies and their huge houses they're building.
Why Tukis?
I wonder how many are going to be around a year after this.
Retired University of Arkansas
Yeah,
professor
Jake, that
John
wouldn't get you.
Toma wonders how many of the rest of us will
called
be
them
around
Waitukis.
if we don't prepare now.
Okay, I'm done.
Most likely scenario is a breakdown of the supply chain, which could
It's going to be up to me to repopulate the Earth.
That's the most likely scenario, sir.
I'm the rational one here, guys.
His message:
We
get
got
your
days
water,
left to live.
food,
That's probably
and
the most
shelter
likely
ready
scenario.
now.
If you're not part of the solution, you're going to be part of the problem.
Melissa Moon, Color 10 News.
Oh boy. I wonder how they're doing these days.
Within recent years, disasters of all types and description have devastated just about every section of the country.
This is true.
That's Detroit.
Hurricanes in Florida, unprecedented flooding in the Midwest, tornadoes.
Oh, so the world's already ended and nobody told me.
Blizzards shut down the northern border
Yeah,
states.
sure seems like this is pretty typical.
These and other almost annual disasters remind us of the need for personal preparedness. These are facts of life. But could there be a new menace on the horizon?
Oh no, aliens.
Calamity so pervasive, it threatens not only the United States, but the entire world.
The year 2000 computer problem is, without question, the most complex, most expensive problem mankind has ever faced.
There are some Y2K analysts
That man's
out
gonna
there
feel
that are
awful
saying we
silly
need to be
on
preparing
January
for the doomsday
1st.
scenario, and they may be right.
And I totally believe them.
concern is the potential there is for panic, because people
When
that
people
panic
watch things like
generally
this and
make
then
the
start
wrong
to panic because we told them to panic, it's just, you can't really know what's going to happen.
Food, water, and shelter.
No,
If you cover those,
I know all
everything
about
else
water.
is secondary, but those are the primary ones you've got to address.
Is it possible that even the agencies that normally provide disaster relief could themselves be paralyzed?
I believe Y2K could throw the American medical system into gridlock. Therefore, I think you need to have
Isn't it already like that? Am I right?
Could the
Am I
Y2K
right?
computer bug be the cataclysmic event that forces all of us to discover just how prepared we really are?
The truth is, no one really knows how bad it's going to be, and it's really
Will
not about trying to predict the
75% of us
future with
die or
accuracy, it's about
85% of
risk
us die? Who
management. What we need to be
knows?
asking ourselves is how bad could it
That's
be?
the night when
and
the
are we
lights went out
prepared
in
if that
Georgia
happens?
and everywhere else
Fire
too.
insurance on our homes, not because we expect a fire, but it's just prudent to be prepared in case there is one.
Will you be ready? Or will you be sorry you didn't act in time?
You idiots.
Is your neighbor planning on stealing your supplies? You should get ahead of the curve and just kill him now.
The question is, will you be ready or will you be dead?
On December 31st, the world will celebrate an event that begins in one century and ends in the next.
How am I supposed to celebrate when we're all gonna die?
You sicko?
The new year is rapidly approaching.
Don't get caught with your pantry down.
Like no other. It is not only the end of a year, it is the end of a century, the beginning of a new millennium. A millennium charged with foreboding warnings of unprecedented disaster.
Warnings like this one, actually.
What does this have to do with the Y2K bug exactly?
Stars falling from the sky, of wars and rumors of wars, and a time of trouble greater than any since there was a nation.
David's a priest.
Now, in addition to
We can
all of
trust
that,
him.
comes Y2K. Could it be that the time of trouble is of our own making?
Killed
now
by
most
his own
people have heard
devices.
of Y2K, the anagram shorthand for the year 2000 computer problem. Americans have proven
McLean,
they
he's
can
gonna
handle even
explain
the
this
most
to me.
devastating
Quiet.
natural disaster. But can we survive a man-made technological
Was
meltdown?
man the real villain this whole time?
Emergency. I think we'll have martial law by this time next year.
Martial law reporting for duty, sir.
New Year's Eve celebrations like we have seen them in the past, because I think there will be troops in the street.
Logical.
Could it be
I
that
think so too.
civilization as we know it could be on the brink of the greatest man-made disaster in history?
Sounds about right.
Experts believe that is a distinct possibility. But how could such a thing come about? Have we become so dependent on computers
He went to the Rod Serling
that our
School of
society
Acting.
is at risk if they fail? The fact is, during the past 30 years, computers have taken over virtually every aspect of modern life.
Heck, I'm a
Each of
computer.
these items and hundreds more are all controlled by a computer-based system called an embedded chip.
Oh,
Truth
what?
is,
What you're trying to tell me is my toaster wants to kill me.
that wasn't computer-enhanced in some way. If you drive a fairly new automobile, there are probably more electronics in it than there was in the first moonlander. And a good portion of that electronic wizardry is date-sensitive. Therein lies the problem. For over 4 decades, computers have been constructed with date information that becomes invalid. Midnight, December 31st, 1999.
Wait, you lost me. Go back. Slow down.
Wait, McLean, this is starting to make sense to me.
That's exactly what they're trying to do. But consider the scope of the problem. Over 400 million lines of outdated
400 million,
undocumented code. Over
70 billion. That's a big number.
Embedded chips. At least 250
Whoa,
million
250 million. That's also a big number, McLean.
I'm seeing a lot of big numbers right now.
Code, every computer will have to be tested because computers, bless their mindless little electronic hearts, will not operate with conflicting data.
My
Some of you will
goodness.
undoubtedly think, that's no big deal.
You're wrong.
Let's consider one example.
We're all gonna die. Let's
Computers and embedded chips.
McLean, can I hide in your bunker?
Operating smoothly, providing electrical
no, Jake.
power to
What?
a network
Why?
distribution system.
100. You can bring 100 gallons of water in. That's the only way you're getting in. Otherwise, you can go out there and die like everyone else.
Well, I'll have to drain my water
Unable
here.
to interpret the data, it shuts down, and the power is shut off everywhere. Not just in your town or even in your state, but everywhere. The massive disruption to society and our way of life would be hard to overstate.
But we're gonna try.
Government and industry are doing everything.
I'm kind
they
of
can
disappointed
to fix the
Y2K didn't
problem.
happen.
But in the event they don't make it, is there anything you can do?
Will you have to kill your
Actually,
neighbor?
there is. And
I'm
that's what
sorry
this
this
show is
question
all
keeps
about.
coming up, but it's a
can be
logical one.
And rather than just continue to rush on toward the electronic iceberg we know is out there without knowing what to do or how to do it, we've
Fill your
gathered
bathtub
together
with
some of the
water
nation's
immediately.
leading experts
Drain your hot
in the
water
field of
heater.
preparedness.
Drain your
If you
water
listen
bed.
carefully to
So
what
in
they
this
have to
scenario,
say,
is Rose
maybe
still
none of
heartlessly
us
letting
will have to
Jack
go down
die?
with the ship.
I can only imagine so.
Without stretching the analogy too far, now that we have some understanding of the problem,
Right, giant
let's
iceberg,
meet some
big
of our
numbers,
experts
computer chips.
and
Got
begin
it.
to prepare our personal lifeboat.
In preparing for
Jake,
Y2K,
write down that book
consumers are
title.
being
I'm gonna get
told
that off
a lot
Amazon.
of
Yeah,
things
hold
that
on.
they've
The
gotta
Millennium
do.
Bug,
But
how
I
to
really
survive the
boil it
communication.
down to what
I
I
got
call the
it.
essential 3: food, water, and shelter. If you cover those, everything else is secondary, but those are the primary ones you've got to address.
When I'm asked, how can I prepare for Y2K?
I
the first
say,
thing
get
I tell
yourself a
people
good
is that they need to
mustache.
take an inventory of their risks and their resources, and from there, formulate an action plan.
Well, I think the most important thing above
Paloma
all
O'Reilly's my
is
favorite song
not
by
to
The
treat
Who.
Y2K as something to panic about. We should be
Don't
thinking
treat it
about
as something
Y2K
to
and
panic
preparing
about.
for
Just make
Y2K
sure you
as we would
lose
for
your
a natural
mind
disaster.
and start
Stick to
hoarding
the
items.
basics and maintain a rational perspective.
Maintain
advice
a
certainly
wooden
gives us a starting
personality, a
But there's
cardboard
also a
cutout
spiritual
stance in front of the
aspect to all
camera.
of this.
Most of all, never have inflection in your voice.
Twice. Book of Proverbs 27:3 and 27:12.
That's a book in the
Essentially
Bible.
says
This is true now, McLean.
that the prudent man sees trouble coming and takes action. The foolish man keeps going and suffers for it. The Bible
I guess
calls
Jesus
us to
predicted
diligence.
Y2K.
The first thing we have to realize is that this problem is entirely man-made. Tens of thousands of computer programmers worked very
I mean,
hard to
how do we
create
know
this
that the dogs were in on
Since it
this?
is man-made,
I'm suspecting the dog. You ever seen one of those little rat terriers? They're real suspicious looking.
Taken as one big lump, the problem seems insurmountable. But if we look at what may or may not affect each of us individually, and the resources available to cope
Son, I'm
with
afraid you have
disruptions,
coronavirus. I have to
shortages,
beat
and
you to
other
death with a
assorted
jug of
difficulties,
water now.
we discover that preparedness is not only possible, it's smart.
Dad, what's
So what are the
coronavirus?
most
Shut up and put the water in the
critical
pantry,
things
son.
that face us?
My major concerns would be electricity, which is the bedrock of our modern
Well,
civilization.
I have a
and
feeling
that
his major
keeps our
concern
water
is that
clean and so on and so
Y2K
forth.
doesn't
And the
happen
second
and he
would be
suddenly
water.
becomes irrelevant.
Our food, our
I
delivery
find it
of
interesting
food,
these
and then
people are
fourth
telling
would
us
be our
not to
our
panic
financial
and
or
panic
banking
as much
system.
as
I
you
mean, we
can
are a
at the same
nation
time.
That without money would be a kind of a difficult place to live in. But my
Just
biggest
give
concern
me
is
your
the- is
money
the
and I'll
potential
take care
there is
of
for
it.
panic, 'cause
Okay.
people that are panicked will generally make the wrong decisions.
Some experts believe that panic could cause more problems than the problem itself.
You are causing panic
But
right
the
now.
person who is prepared, of course, has no need to panic. Still, When everything you've learned to rely on
Don't
suddenly
panic.
isn't
Just
there,
make sure you panic
you're
enough to
required
where you don't have
decide
to
what's
panic.
really important.
If you just panic long enough, it
brings us back to
becomes
basics.
responsibility.
Food, water, shelter, and for many people, medical supplies.
What about
Let's
toilet
look at
paper?
each of these items individually, beginning with the most essential commodity, water.
Toilet paper. Oh. We're back on water again?
The Earth's surface is water.
We were real obsessed with water in 1999, weren't we?
Safe supply of usable
Yeah, I know about water.
Single most important need.
Water must have been worth a lot back then.
Maybe water was 1999's version of toilet paper.
Bring the water to the faucets in your home, neighborhood, or community. What will you do?
You might as well commit suicide now.
40 days without food, but only about 3 days without water. So
And only 2 days without buying something from one of us.
We have adequate supplies of drinking water. And by that, as a bare minimum, we need at least a gallon, preferably 2 gallons a day per person.
McLean, when was the last time you drank 2 gallons a day of water?
On how many people are in your family. And keep in mind,
well, that depends. Does Mountain Dew count?
Everyone should have 14 gallons of water stored within their living area. And
so what, like a week's supply of water apparently? That's enough to get me through the apocalypse?
Water, a gallon a day for 2 weeks. Do the math.
Oh, numbers! Too many numbers! I can't!
Etc. It's so simple.
172x.
I failed algebra.
It's an absolute basic.
Okay, the numbers are gone. The numbers are gone, McLean. The numbers are gone.
Without it, and we're dead.
The only disaster I see is that sweater guy. Am I right?
By taking the 2-liter Coke bottles, rinsing them out, refilling them with tap water, and putting 4 drops of Clorox in them, screwing them tight, putting them in the right place, and stockpiling them incrementally as we went along.
Panic as a family.
We constructed our house out of water bottles.
Instead of purchasing cans of soda, buy your favorite drink in the 2-liter bottles.
Why are you buying soda and not buying water? I'm confused.
And replace the twist-on lid tightly. Just about all the tap water in America.
Ah, the good old days, prepping for the end of the world with my old man.
But since you don't know how long the stored water will have to last, adding 2 or 3 drops of Clorox to each container isn't a bad idea. Also, fill the bottle right to the top.
I usually fill it about halfway and call it good.
Alright, honey, now I'm gonna go buy more guns.
The gallon juice containers are excellent for water storage.
You know what's even better for water storage? Bottles of water.
The next question, of course, is where do you store it?
Is that Inya playing in the background?
For the average person in their home. Your home has a number of reservoirs that you don't even realize you
Many
have.
points with which you can hide a gun for easy access.
Again with the water
heater.
heater.
Home in America has a 40-gallon water heater.
Fill your home with water. Flood the basement.
Construct a fort out of water heaters.
You know what we really need, Dad?
A good M1 tank.
Try taking a quick inventory of unused space in your home.
Remember, every family member you get rid of is just more storage space for water.
Billy, you're taking a valuable water space.
Oh, Dad. In some areas, a nearby stream may afford a reliable source of water. But keep in mind that even if your grandmother got all her water from a stream, your intestinal system has built up different immunities.
Frankly,
quite likely the stream.
You're a sissy, unlike your grandmother who drank dirt and liked it.
Water purification tablets on hand, and treat all natural water before consuming.
Kids should just eat more dirt clods. We wouldn't have this whole COVID-19 problem if kids just ate more dirt clods. Build up antibodies. I'm
should
mad.
have 14 gallons of water.
We didn't listen. That's the problem, and now we have coronavirus.
Basic.
That brings us to the second of the most important basic needs items, food. But just having something that says food on the label may not be enough. Nobody wants to go hungry if they can help it.
Make sure to throw out all of your food in order to make more space for water.
Like storing water, there are a few things you need to know to store food successfully.
The second most important thing we need to have stored is food. In whatever
Let's see.
Remember, water bottles make excellent food storage devices.
An extra week, some maybe a month.
48 cans of Oscar
People should be
sardines.
able to produce food at home, whether it's canning, freezing, bottling, growing their own food, producing their own food.
Make
in the
sure
backyard,
to take out a
canning
mortgage
it,
on your
at a
home to
local
afford more
cannery or
food.
whatever. But food is so important.
Wow, we have a
obviously,
good amount
to
of
our
food.
long-term life. And the rule for being prepared for having enough food to live on is to store what you already eat. Eat what you store and use it or lose it.
When it comes to food, people really need to be stockpiling now. And they need to do
well, I'm glad we're told not to panic, because we all have to go out and stockpile now.
Into the shopping cart
good.
And beginning
I
to
plan on beating a homeless man to death for his last can of pork and beans. That's my survival plan for Y2K.
2 pounds of beans, 2 pounds of rice, and 2 pounds of pasta every week, just theoretically. Well, next week, instead of buying 2
Build a
pounds
barn
of beans,
in your backyard
buy 3
to store
pounds
it
of
all.
beans, 2
Is that
pounds
the
of
nice
pasta,
elderly
2
couple
pounds of
from the
rice,
news report a
and
minute
put the
ago?
extra pound away as storage.
I don't know.
Then the next week, buy
All
an
old
extra
people
pound
are
of
the same.
rice.
Let's
The
be
next
honest,
week,
they aren't
buy
gonna
an
live
extra
much longer
pound
past
of
Y2K
pasta.
anyway. Why are they
Then
worried?
start to buy some canned goods, and
What?
you'll be surprised
I'm just
within
saying.
the next 5 to 6 months how much extra food you will have put away in your pantry.
When you buy more food, you have more food. Got it.
But will your friends accuse you of hoarding?
Sometimes people wonder if stockpiling food is the same as hoarding food.
No, totally different.
When we have a lot of resources.
Not the same
and
thing,
there's a
I
very small
swear.
demand. Hoarding is what happens when we've got a lot
See,
of demand.
you're
and very
not
few
crazy,
resources.
you're just
In fact, hoarding is
responsible.
What happens to people who don't stockpile. So I encourage
Don't
people
panic,
to stockpile now.
just start stockpiling. I didn't say hoarding.
And experienced in this industry.
Don't think, just do.
I didn't say hoarding. That's not what I said.
I have no feelings. I have a lot
Don't
of
rush
it
out and buy a
myself.
year's
But they
supply of
rush out
dry
and buy
foods.
a
Just
year's
go out
supply
and
of
buy
dried
a
foods
year or
they've
so
never tasted
supply of
before,
dry
have no
foods.
clue as to how to fix, and they're going to put it in their basement for 15 years, hoping that they never need it.
It's important to make your choices now, while you are in control of the situation.
Do you want the creamed corn or just the whole kernel corn? Make your choices now, America.
Someone else is likely to make them for you.
Crunchy or creamy?
There are many rules to follow when it comes to food
Oh man, is
storage,
this a good
but
purchase
it's
or not?
good
I
to
can't
know what rules
even.
there are, because not knowing or not following the rules could cost you your life.
I'm not ready for the
rule number
apocalypse,
one with a
Moonlight.
true
I'm not
story.
ready for the apocalypse.
In the winter of 1983-84 in Utah,
There was a Y2K back in
record
84
snowfall drove
too?
the deer herds down out of the mountains and literally into people's backyards searching for food. Well-meaning farmers and conservationists put out hundreds of bales of hay for the animals, which they quickly devoured. But the people were shocked when the deer literally starved to death with their bellies full of hay. The animals were used to feeding on oak, maple, and bitterbush.
So wait,
Their
should
systems
we start
simply
eating
couldn't
oak? I'm
process
confused.
the hay.
So man, responsible for Y2K and killing deer.
Don't buy what you don't eat.
Not a good track
or what
record
you
so
are
far.
unwilling to work into your regular meals. If you choose
So,
to buy
are we
dehydrated
not
or
supposed to
freeze-dried
stockpile
foods, for
hay
example,
then?
Start working these foods into your regular diet immediately. If you are unwilling to do that, don't make them part of your storage program. Rule number 2, remind yourself that you don't have to do it all at once. All you have
Don't
to do
hoard,
is begin.
just hoard slowly.
Just hoard slowly.
Know what you must have for a week, a month.
I must have 11 boxes of Uncle Ben's rice-a-roni, dear.
Finding out what you
I
need
can't live
as
without
opposed
him.
to what you think you want will take a little study, but it's worth it. Rule number 4 is simply do it now.
Everyone,
That doesn't mean
go out
rush
there and do
to
it
the
now,
store
right
and fill
now.
up the back of the van. It simply means begin to
That's
implement
just a
your
nicer
plan
way of
today.
saying the same
Build
thing.
Your own
Come on.
personal in-home convenience store incrementally.
Just
And once you have
stockpile
what you
nice
need,
hoard, I
begin
mean,
a program of
home
use and
convenience
replace.
store.
Use the things in your storage for your meals and shop
Your life should now
replace.
just be one long shopping trip.
But even if your food storage is adequate and in place,
You're still gonna
if
die.
there's
Every
an
one of you, you're all
extended
gonna
power outage,
die.
You face a whole new set of
What I love is that this background music is just really calming. It helps me to not panic about things or, feel anxiety and fear.
Alternative to heating your home if there's no fuel for your furnace and no electricity to turn the fan. How will you get information?
What about updating your Facebook status to let people know that you're feeling hungry?
What else should you know before the lights go out?
We don't
Okay.
really need electricity. What we really need is heat and light.
Find out when we come back.
January 1st, the year 2000, the beginning of a new year, a new century.
Yeah, my family's
and a
gonna
new
go back and
millennium.
rewatch
Will
this
it be
one.
filled with promise, or will the Y2K crisis fulfill the promise of Armageddon? The year 2000 is just
Yeah, Armageddon.
days away. Do you know how to prepare your
Remember,
family
people,
for
don't
Y2K?
panic.
It's really not about
Also,
trying to
it might
predict
be
the future with
Armageddon.
accuracy, It's about risk management. What we need to be asking ourselves is how bad could it be, and are we prepared if that
Will
happens?
it be turned into a tiny little cinder of charred ash?
About Y2K
It's a
all come
legitimate
true?
question.
Where will your family be if communications, water, food, heat, electric power, and medical services are all
Are you freaked out yet, folks? Are you just really worked up into a frenzy?
Of all the services that Americans take for granted,
start growing your hair long now so you can comb it over in the future. Stockpile all the hair you have.
Unfortunately, the electric power that fuels just about every other utility service we enjoy is also the most vulnerable to disruption.
Should I start, like, stockpiling electricity? How does that work?
Yeah, you just bottle some electricity into a clear plastic bottle, fill it to the top, put the cap on tightly, maybe add a couple drops of Clorox and store it in your closet.
Little Clorox into the electricity.
Is telecommunications. We've got 150 control centers across the country where they go in and negotiate who's going to have power, how much they're going to have.
Who's going to have power? That's what we have elections for.
Without telecommunications, the power grid will go down.
I want to decide who lives and who dies.
January the 1st, 2000, in many parts of the world, will come in the dead of winter. And if people don't have a backup plan, if the electricity goes out, a way to keep their family warm, they're going to
have to burn your house down,
folks. People got to think through that very carefully between now and then.
Start stockpiling fire.
Maybe light your neighbor on fire to keep warm. Why do you keep mentioning my neighbor? Alright, I'm just gonna shuffle on over here. Okay, there we go. I'm all nice and warm now. I'm gonna go over here and turn the heat on. Doop-de-doop-de-doop-de-doop-de-doop-de-doop-de-doop-de-doop. Good to just get to my thermometer. That works perfectly and adjust the heat. Oh, wait a minute. Well, now that's just... Let's see here. Oh, well, I guess it's the apocalypse, honey. We're dead.
That's right. Once Y2K hits, the heat won't work right. You'll have to wear sweaters, you hear me? Sweaters.
Oh, no.
Any storm, natural or man-made.
I think he's man-made.
How serious the problem, chances are it will be solved, and we'll all get back to building productive lives.
We can rebuild, make society better.
It's probably as important to your well-being as an adequate water supply. Don't suffer from fear along with everything else.
Well, that's the one thing this program has taught me.
A person who is truly prepared has nothing to fear.
The kind of fear that comes from seeing really hyped up programming like this that uses music to really put you in a really great state of mind. I cannot oversell the fact that you shouldn't panic as I'm coaching you on to actual panic at the moment. It's
not hoarding, it's merely going to your local supermarket and buying all of the foods, water, goods you can.
McLean, you're getting you're getting too close to me. This is not 6 feet. Social distance yourself over that way, McLean. All right.
I think this was productive. It was.
You know what? Just wipe yourself down with a Lysol wipe. I don't trust you.
Yeah. I'll go through the bleach sprayers on my way out.
Thank you. Remember, guys, don't panic.
I think this was very productive. Now I'm prepared to deal.
Was that a cough?
With the world of COVID.
Did you just cough?
No.
Did you just cough, McLean?
It was just a little sniffle.
Get out of my house.
I have allergies.
Get out! I have to kill you now.
Please. I brought water, I swear.